Am I the asshole for moving after winning full custody of my sons? When I first met her, we were in college. She had a quiet charm, always smiling, always curious about the world. We bonded over simple things, books and late-night food runs, and I believed I'd found someone who wanted the same kind of life I did. We married 2 years after graduation and thought we were ready for everything adulthood would throw at us. Our sons came fast, one then the other. Parenthood was a whirlwind, but I embraced it. I worked full-time as a systems analyst for a mid-sized logistics company, clocking in long hours to make sure we had enough. My wife stayed home with the boys, something she said she'd always dreamed of. I admired her patience. She was great with them, knowing all the songs, reading bedtime stories with silly voices, planning little adventures in the park. From the outside, we were that family, tight-knit and quietly content. What I didn't know was that underneath that facade, cracks were forming. I didn't see the growing stress in her eyes or understand what it meant when she stopped checking in before buying things. She had access to our finances and I trusted her. There was no reason not to. We never had explosive fights, only the kind of disagreements you forget by morning. Then one morning while making breakfast there was a knock at the door. I thought it was the delivery guy, we were always ordering something. But it was the police. 2 officers. They had a warrant. Within minutes they were in the house. My wife, pale and shaking, was let out in handcuffs while our boys played in the living room. I had to tell them Mommy was going on a trip. The officers seized our computers and documents and I was left standing in the doorway, numb. I learned that she had opened several credit cards in my mother's name, maxed them out, and was under investigation for fraud. Thousands of dollars. I had no idea. That day broke something in me. Trust, yes, but also that naive belief that love, alone, could hold a life together. When I confronted her later, after bail, lawyers, court hearings, she said she was doing it for the kids. To keep things from falling apart. But she had never once told me she felt overwhelmed. She had never asked for more. We weren't rich, but we were fine. We were managing. I filed for divorce and full custody. It wasn't out of spite, it was instinct. Protect the boys. Give them stability. Her sentence was lighter than expected. 90 days in jail, restitution, probation. I didn't fight her supervised visits. I didn't speak badly of her to the kids. I made sure they had time with her. But I couldn't let her have more than the court allowed. Not after the deception. Not while I was still rebuilding. Months passed. The town where we lived wasn't forgiving. News spreads fast in small places. The story had made the paper. People knew. Kids at my son's preschool stopped playing with him. I caught whispers at the grocery store. It wasn't fair to them, to grow up as the boys whose mom went to jail. And there wasn't much support for single fathers in our community. Therapy was a waitlist months long. I was doing the best I could, but I was burning out fast. Then came the offer, out of the blue, from a former colleague who had moved to a different state. A higher salary, better benefits, on-site childcare, and access to counseling services. The schools were top-rated. The community diverse and welcoming. It wasn't even a question in my mind. I spoke to my lawyer. He said, since I had full custody, I needed court approval, but there was a good chance the move would be allowed. I told my ex. She didn't take it well. She said I was tearing the boys away from her. That she had worked hard to recover. But she hadn't yet petitioned for more custody. She was still under court supervision. And I wasn't closing the door. I promised visitation, calls, everything I could offer while still doing what was best for the boys. But she refused to see it that way. I filed the petition. The court approved it. We moved. It wasn't easy. The boys cried when we packed up. They didn't understand. But kids are adaptable. They liked the new house with its big backyard. They loved the neighborhood kids who knocked on the door asking if they could play. I signed them up for soccer. Birthday parties came back. Smiles came back. I started taking them to therapy. Individual sessions and group sessions with me. They had questions. I answered what I could. But mostly they just wanted to know if Mom was okay. I made sure they saw her, video calls during the week, 2 trips back already. I told them she loved them. That she was still part of their lives. Meanwhile, I was thriving at work. The role challenged me in ways my old job never had. I was respected. Supported. There were other single parents on the team. We had each other's backs. My ex, though, didn't adjust well. She called constantly, begging me to reconsider. Sometimes she cried, sometimes she accused me of taking everything from her. I offered to help with her petition if she wanted to move closer. I reminded her that I wasn't asking for child support. That I was doing what I could to keep her involved. She wasn't satisfied. She kept asking me to move back. Said the boys were slipping away. I reminded her that this wasn't punishment, it was consequence. I wasn't angry anymore. I had let that go. But I wasn't going to uproot their new life just to ease her guilt. One weekend we visited again. The boys were excited. They'd drawn pictures for her. But the moment they were asleep in the guest room, she started again, saying I'd ruined her chance at rebuilding, that the courts were moving too slow, that the boys would forget her. I offered to set up more calls. More visits. She stormed off. Still I kept my promise. Every holiday, every birthday, I made space for her. I helped the boys make cards. I made sure she had photos. I let them talk as long as they wanted. In time things settled. My oldest started kindergarten. He got invited to his first sleepover. My youngest learned to ride a bike. We made new traditions, Friday movie night, Saturday pancakes, Sunday hikes. Life didn't feel broken anymore. Just different. One day my oldest asked if Mom could come to his school concert. I called her. She was still waiting for approval to travel, but she promised to try. She didn't make it. I filmed the whole thing and sent it to her anyway. I think she's beginning to realize that rebuilding isn't about begging for the past. It's about working toward a new future. I hope she finds her way there. I'm not standing in her way. But I won't let my sons fall back into chaos. They deserve this peace. They deserve laughter and routines and normalcy. And I will do everything in my power to keep that for them. Even if it means being the villain in someone else's story.